Hello everyone and welcome to today's session on what's new in TestComplete 8. My name is Nick Olivo, and over the course of the next half an hour or so I'm going to give you a quick rundown of all the new and exciting things inside of TestComplete 8. In fact, we're going to start out, we'll talk about some of the new features that live inside TC8, we'll talk about some of the new environments that we support, and there'll also be a Q&A session at the end so that we can address any questions that you might have about the new features. All right, now some of you out there may have already been playing around with TestComplete 8. Some of you may be looking at it for the first time. So what I'm going to do right now is just dive right in, and I'm going to walk you through some of those new features. All right, so here we go. Here's TestComplete 8. And I want to start out by recording a new test so you can see how that looks. So let's go ahead and we'll start the recording process. Now the first change that you're going to notice is that the recording toolbar has been modified. Now we've condensed it down so that it's just showing the most commonly used actions on the toolbar. So we've got record, stop, and pause, and our checkpoint button. Now, all those other buttons that you know and love are still there. You can just show them by clicking on this little slider right here, and that'll expand it out back to its full size, and you can see all those other buttons that you know and love, all the add comments, the load testing, switching the script, all that kind of stuff. All right, now let's go ahead and I'm going to record a test against my little sample C# application right here, and I'm going to place a new order inside my system. So I'm going to go to Orders, New Order, and we'll make some changes into my order here. Let's go ahead and we'll say that I wanted maybe 50 of the family album product, and my name is Barry Allen, and my street is 123 My Street, and my city is Peterborough, and my state is good old New Hampshire, zip code, and a credit card. All right, so now I'm going to stop recording. And just like you're used to, TestComplete will take a moment, process those commands, and then render them as a keyword test. But there are going to be a handful of new things that I want to point out inside that keyword test. So here we go. First and foremost, we have this new visualizer panel, which you can see down here at the bottom of my screen. This panel allows you to see pictures of your application as it appeared at test recording time. So right here, when I select an item, you'll notice that the visualizer down in the bottom there selects the particular screenshot that refers to that action. So right here, I'm clicking on the street field. By clicking on this eye icon, I can see that's what the application looked like at that point in time. So TestComplete makes it very easy for you now to see exactly what your tests are doing. So if you are in a situation where controls are being dynamically generated and you're not exactly sure what's being clicked, now you have a graphical representation of the screen at that point in time so you can see exactly what is going on. Now, the visualizer is more than just really pretty screenshots. For example, here you can see that we went through and we changed our street, our city, our state, our zip code, but you know what? I forgot to change my credit card type to MasterCard. Right now, the default is Visa. I want to make that MasterCard. Well, guess what? I can just hover over that control inside the visualizer, right-click on it, and say Insert On-Screen Action. That brings up a list of the most commonly used actions for that type of control. We'll say Next and Finish. Now you can see that TestComplete has inserted a click on that MasterCard radio button. I was able to update the test right from the visualizer. I didn't need to rerun my test. I didn't even need to have my application running. I was able to just hover over the picture and insert the action that way. You can also insert checkpoints directly from the visualizer as well. You right-click on the control and say Insert Property Checkpoint. So the visualizer is a really powerful new feature that's going to make it a lot easier for you to update and debug your tests. All right, now we've got the visualizer all set. Now what I'd like to do is run this test. You're going to notice that in the top right corner of my screen, we've made some modifications to the indicator as well. We've got the these pause and stop buttons set up there now so that you can interrupt test execution at any point in time without needing to remember an obscure keystroke combination. So you can just click that pause button and that'll pause your test, or you can press stop to totally stop the test execution. All right, and here we go. Test finishes out, and just like what you saw before, you get that nice detailed list of every action that TestComplete performed. You know, all the text that got entered, what control it got entered into, that kind of a thing. But now we also log pictures of what the application looked like at both record time, which you see right here under the expected image section, and at runtime, so that you can see exactly what your application looked like when the test ran. So if we encountered a failure of some kind, we'd be able to see exactly what that application looked like at that point of failure. So there's a lot of new image capabilities inside of TestComplete right now, which are very, very helpful and powerful. All right, so those are some of the improvements that we've made to the recording and playback side of things. Now what I'd like you to do, is show you some of the new data-driven testing features that we've got set up. You know, if you guys have worked with data-driven testing inside, you know, either script-based tests or keyword tests previously, you know that it was kind of a cumbersome process. In fact, if you worked with code, you know that you were writing lines that looked something like this, kind of cryptic, and it took some know-how in order to make these things work. In version 8 of TestComplete, we've made it much, much easier for you to work with data sheets, databases, and whatnot, and use those as input into your tests. So let's take our test case that we've got right here where we add a new user, and we're going to data drive this. All you need to do is click inside your test and select those actions that you want to perform for each user. So I have a spreadsheet set up right here full of all the users and the products I want my users to purchase. Okay, so this Excel file that's living out on my hard drive here, I want to use this information as input into my tests. So what I'm going to do is select the actions that need to be performed for each user. So in my case, everything from the time where I click Orders, New Order, all the way through that button OK, click event down at the bottom there. And I'm just holding down the Shift key while I select each item on my test here. Once I've got all my items selected, you right-click and you say Make Data Loop. And that's going to pop up this wizard. And the first thing that the wizard says is, okay, let's create a DB table variable. Now, a DB table variable is a new type of variable that we've input into TestComplete 8, and basically it just allows you to define table values that you can access later on in your tests. You can think of this as being analogous to this line right here, where you set, my input data equal to DDT Excel driver. Basically, input data is what we're building right now, that variable name. So I'm just going to actually just copy that, and I'll use that as my name for my new variable. And I'll click Next. Okay, now we get the option, what kind of data source are you working with here? Just like always, we can work with Excel files, CSV files, or ODBC compliant data sources. So I'm going to say Excel worksheet, click Next. Okay, next screen. Where's the Excel file live? Well, that's easy enough. We just click the Browse button here. I'm going to select my DDT sample Excel sheet. Actually, no, wait, I want test book. Wrong one. There we go. Okay, click Next. Now the wizard's saying, okay, I found one worksheet inside that spreadsheet. And sure enough, there it is. It's called Test Sheet. You can see right here. So that's what we want to work with. I'm going to select Test Sheet. Click Next. And we also have the ability to define a range of records that we're going to work with. So if we only wanted to use, say, records 5 through 7 inside that spreadsheet, we could click these from and to values and put in the appropriate range. So we could say from record 5 to record 7. But for right now, I'm just going to take the defaults and click Next. All right, now this screen, this is really where the rubber meets the road here. This is where we're going to substitute the values from the spreadsheet into our test case. So first thing that we want to change here is this product names click, right? We have a hard-coded value of family album. We want to replace that value with the value from the spreadsheet. So I'm just going to click on this little drop-down button here, and I'm going to select product. And these names that you see here, right, these correspond directly to the column names inside the spreadsheet. So the quantity field here, there's a column in my spreadsheet called quantity. So I'm going to grab that. And I'm just going to repeat this for each one of the values inside my spreadsheet that I want to work with here. So my street address, my city, my state, all those values, you just run through here, click and pick what elements you're interested in. If you remember working with these data-driven tests in previous version of TestComplete, you had to remember exactly what your column names were. You had to be very careful about case, about spacing, about all those types of things that are very easy to fat finger and introduce failures. Here now you just pick those values that are relevant to you and you're off and running. So I've got my credit card number here, and there you go. Now I click Finish after I've selected all my values, and TestComplete has inserted this data loop operation right here. And you can see now that each one of those actions inside my test is now using variable values as opposed to the hard-coded values that we recorded earlier. So that whole process took me, what, maybe 15, 20 seconds? That's a heck of a lot faster to create data-driven tests than it was in previous versions of TestComplete. So I'm very excited about this feature, and I hope you guys are too. All right, now let's talk about some of the other changes that we've made in TestComplete 8. One thing to point out is that we've simplified the Object Properties Viewer. In fact, we've renamed it, because Object Properties Viewer is kind of a mouthful. We've just renamed it down to Object Spy. And the Object Spy works exactly as you remember. You can now select an item just by using the Finder tool here. Select Control. I'm going to select this grid right here. TestComplete grabs a reference to it, just like always. But now we start out by just showing a subset of the properties for those controls. We don't show you the whole list by default right now because we found that most people are only looking for a handful of properties when they work for a particular control. So we decided to just show those common properties to start with. Now, don't worry. If you need to get the whole list, you can still do that. You just click this Advanced View link right here. And now TestComplete is again showing you every property that exists for that particular control. So we still have the same level of visibility. It's just for first-time users and newbies, we've made it a lot less cluttered for them as they inspect their application. Now, the same thing carries over for checkpoints too. If we were to create a property checkpoint right now, in fact, let's go ahead and do that. Put that right at the end of my test. You'll see that when we select the control with the property checkpoint wizard, two things. For starters, we are now logging a picture of that control so that you can verify that you're selecting the right thing. As soon as TestComplete comes right back here, we'll see that image. And then we'll also see the abbreviated properties list for that as well. Okay, and of course my test application has decided to crash on me as I'm doing this. There we go. Okay. A little bit of a delay there. No problem. So again, here's that picture that we were expecting. So we know that we selected the right control. We click Next. And now here's that abbreviated list of properties that we could choose from and verify. And again, we could click this Advanced View link right here to pick a different property if we needed to. Okay. Now, another new feature that I wanted to mention is something that's been implemented on the web testing side of things. I'm sure that a great number of you out there have had to work with a web page that has some sort of flyout menu associated with it. And you know that in previous versions of TestComplete, you needed to manually insert hover mouse actions over controls inside your application. So for right here, I've got a sample web page with a flyout menu. I can hover over products, and then hover over cameras, and then I would click on digital. And I would need to have gone in and inserted a hover mouse over this products link, and then another hover mouse over cameras, and then I could actually click digital. Well, TestComplete 8 now performs those hover actions for you automatically. So let's go ahead and record a new test so you can see what that looks like. Wait for TestComplete to minimize down here. I'm just going to move over here. I'm going to select products. We'll come down to cameras, and then I'll click on digital. Now, clicking on digital doesn't actually do anything here because this is just a sample site, but it'll give you the flavor for what's going on. I'm going to stop recording. And again, TestComplete will generate my actions. And here you go. You can see now we've got our test case. It's been created. And we've got two hover actions that were inserted over our test case or over our application automatically. So we hover over submenu 1. There's the child of that. And then we actually click on the digital link. So now you don't need to worry about going back and manually appending actions into your tests after they've been created. All right. Now I want to talk about a new feature called conditional name mapping. I'm sure that many of you have encountered a situation where you've got control that's called, one thing on one operating system and then something else on a different operating system. So the example I like to use is an open dialog. If you've ever looked at an open dialog on Windows 7, you may see that it's called open. But on Windows XP, that same dialog might be called open file. And on Windows Vista, it may be called select file. So you would need to handle something like that either via wildcards in the name map or by maintaining multiple versions of a particular object in the name map. And neither of those approaches really scale too well. So what we've done is we've changed TestComplete's name mapping editor so that now you can set up conditional properties. And let's talk about those. So let me go to my orders application right here, and let me actually record opening a file so that you can see a good example of what that would look like. Let me bring back the orders app. There we go. We'll go File, Open, and we'll just load up a new data file. So we'll just do that. Okay, and we'll stop recording. I just wanted to get that open dialog into the name map there. Okay, so we come back into the name map now, and here you go. You can see there is our open dialog. Okay, and right now its caption is being listed as open. Well, maybe on other operating systems it may be select file. How do I account for that? Well, what we're going to do is right-click on the open dialog here, and we're going to select Find Mapped Object. And that pops me up to the top panel here. I'm going to check this conditional mode box. And that's going to put the name map into the conditional editor. Now, if you don't see this conditional mode column right away, just right-click up here, select Field Chooser, and that will allow you to drag the conditional mode column onto the palette. Okay, so now that we're in conditional mode, what I want to say is we want to look for a dialog box whose class is this, and its caption could be open or select file. So I'm going to select my caption, and I'm going to say or. Okay, and that allows me now to enter in a different property that I can work with. So I'm going to say we want the WND caption property, and we want to make sure that that WND caption property equals, and then we type in the value we're expecting. So we'll say it's a string, and we are saying select a file. Okay, and now whether TestComplete finds a dialog whose caption is open or select a file, it'll be able to recognize, manipulate, and proceed with that particular control. So conditional name mapping is going to make it very easy for you to specify alternate criteria that can be used to recognize a particular object. Okay. All right, I see some folks are asking questions. That's great. Keep those coming. I will be addressing all those in just a couple of minutes. For right now, though, I'm going to pop over to some slides, talk about some other new features that we've got going on. Those of you who are doing network suites and distributed testing, we've added some great new features to that. Now it's possible for you to remotely reboot the systems that are participating in your distributed tests. Unfortunately, I don't have a bunch of machines that I can use to demo this particular feature, but all you need to do is right-click on the computer inside the hosts palette of the TestComplete editor, and you'll be able to reboot it, just like what you see in the menu here. Additionally, the Run State page of the Network Suite editor now displays images of the desktop of your slave systems. So if you've ever tried to right-click and initialize a distributed test, and then you wind up running over to that system to make sure that TestComplete is actually loading on there, now you don't need to do that. Now you'll actually see a picture of that desktop exactly as it is on your system. So TestComplete's making it very easy for you to view exactly what's going on with your remote systems. Now I'd like to talk about some of the new supported applications that we've got here. TestComplete will now work with applications created in Visual Studio 2010, and it supports integration into Visual Studio Services. We also now officially support the .NET Framework version 4, and we've optimized our connections into Visual Studio Team Foundation Server so that doing things like running tests from TFS or entering defects into TFS takes a lot less time. We really worked hard to improve the performance there. We also have the capability to automatically post defects into several defect tracking systems. For starters, our own software planner system. You'll be able to just right-click and select on the log this post defect to software planner, and that will automatically post a defect into into software planner. Same deal with Jira and OnTime. You'll be able to automatically post defects into those systems as well. So we've supported a whole bunch of new defect tracking systems with TestComplete 8. A couple other nice things I'd like to mention. You can now call methods from Java jar files, just like you do with .NET DLL. So if you've ever been working with a .NET assembly and you thought, geez, I wish I could do the same thing with my Java application, well, now you can. And we also now support calling methods from 64-bit DLLs. So regardless of what your environment is, TestComplete will offer you some very powerful white box testing capabilities. All right, at this point, let's turn things over to the questions that you folks have. One thing about the questions, folks, if you have tech support type questions, this is probably not the best forum to be asking those. I will probably refer you to our support team. But if you do have questions about the new features in TC8, go ahead and fire away. All right, first question here from Christopher is the visualizer only available with keyword tests, or will it work in script-based tests? No, the visualizer will work with script-based tests as well. In fact, let's go ahead and let's record one of those right now there, Christopher. I'm going to record a new script. TestComplete minimizes down. We'll just do something really quick and easy. I'll edit in order. I'll click my Visa button right here, and we'll stop. We'll generate some script code for that particular action, and you'll see in the gutter there where my line numbers are, we've got this little image glyph, just like what we have with the keyword tests, and you can see images associated with this particular script. So this right here is what my application looked like when I clicked that cancel button. Okay, Curtis asks, I have a large investment in JScript-based TestComplete 7 scripts. It appears that many of the new features are based on keyword testing. Is it possible to convert back and forth between keyword and JScript tests? Okay, sure. What you can do there, Curtis, is you can right-click on a test and you can say convert to script. Just right-click here, convert to script, and that'll pop up this dialog which allows you to specify a name for the script routine. So we'll just call this the converted test. Click OK. And I'll say, yeah, we'll convert operation descriptions to comments. That just provides some nice commentary on what's going on here. And this is that test just in code mode. Now, we don't have the ability to convert a script-based test back to a keyword test, but what we found is that it's really easy for people to mix and match. You can call script-based tests from keyword tests, and you can call keyword tests, and vice versa, I should say. So regardless of if you have power users on your team who are writing code, or if you have a bunch of folks who are writing keyword tests, you can take advantage of their work either way. Okay, next question. James asks, does Test Recorder also take screenshots the way that TestComplete does? No, James, this is actually unique to TestComplete itself. Good question, though. Curtis asks, does TestComplete 8 supply version control with Subversion in the IDE? TestComplete can integrate with any SCC API compliant source control system there, Curtis. So if you find a SCC API plugin from Subversion, you'll be able to have TestComplete talk to it directly via this source control file menu entry. Nicole asks, are scripts backwards compatible? Nicole, if you're asking if you can take a project that you created in TestComplete 7 and run that in TestComplete 8, then yes, but you will not be able to take a project from TestComplete 8 and run it in TestComplete 7. Okay, Kate asks if you're coding tests, can you easily use the visualizer tool? Absolutely, Kate. The recording process will be exactly the same. If you're hand coding them, I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question there. At that point, the visualizer won't do anything because the visualizer is relying on the recording engine. So what you'd want to do is be posting screenshots to the log file, or you can post screenshots automatically when the test replays, or you can take them manually using the log picture command. Dave asks, will the visualizer show the images in TC7 scripts, or will we have to re-record the script? In that case, Dave, you would need to re-record because those visualizer images are generated by the recording engine. Okay, next question. Is how will you differentiate from the screenshots that are taken with a logged picture statement? Okay, sure. So you'll always still see the log picture command just as you always did. So if you put in log picture and then you put in your sys.desktop and a message like hello, that line will post exactly as it always had. The difference between the visualizer and the custom posts that you created is this is in line with an action that TestComplete is performing as opposed to the log picture command, which is doing nothing but posting an action. So here is a picture of something I did during my test case as opposed to here's a picture that I want to take at this particular point in time. Okay, next question has to do with TestComplete licensing. Can we install TestComplete 8 on virtual machines? You can install floating licenses on virtual machines, yes. If you have named user licenses, those cannot be installed on VMs, and you should speak with your account manager to determine the best course of action going forward there. Okay, let's see. Next question from Butch. Can scripts be converted from one scripting language to another? No. Once you got your test in VBScript, it's going to stay that way. You would need to create a new project and re-record your tests if you want to use a different language there. Okay. Next question. How about performance for the visualized tests? Performance is pretty good there, Savaji. I haven't had any problems myself, so that's not going to be an issue there. Dave asks, will the visualizer show images from load testing during playback? No, Dave. The visualizer is only for UI interactions. It's not going to show anything when you're recording load tests. Amor asks, is there online training for TestComplete 8? Yes, absolutely. And if you speak with your account manager, he or she can put you in touch with the folks who do the training and get you up and running there. Okay, Hong you have a question about test execute and licensing. I'm going to defer you to our support team there. They'll be able to help you out better than I can for that particular question. Christopher asks, is TestComplete support only for Jira 4X? That is a good question, Christopher. Let me see here if I have version information on that, and I don't. I will follow up and find out for you there. Let's see, Christopher, Jira version info. And let me find that out for you. Okay. Let's see, next question is from, I just lost my place. Sorry, folks. Christopher is asking if it's possible to email results for a whole project suite and not just a project. No, you would be emailing out an individual project at that point in time, Christopher. It wouldn't be a full project suite. But for that type of thing, if you want to get collated results for multiple projects that are running, you may want to consider using Software Planner for that. And I can have your account manager send you over some more information about Software Planner so you can see more detailed reports and whatnot for log files. Andre asks, is the performance much lower when using conditionally mapped objects? No, not really. if you had specified, maybe 80 different properties for TestComplete to be checking in, then yes, that's going to slow things down a little bit. But chances are, you're only going to be looking at one or two different values there, and so in that case, the performance hit, won't really be noticeable. All right, great questions, folks. I really appreciate those. Now that we will be making a recording of this video, of this session available afterwards, so if you have other members of your team who weren't able to attend, they'll be able to view this. We'll be sending out an email with a link to that video shortly after this session. So look for it either later today or tomorrow at some point in time. In the meantime, if you have other questions that weren't addressed during the course of this session, just send those on to your account manager, and he or she will put you in touch with the appropriate resource to get those answered for you. In the meantime, thank you very much for your time and attention today. If you enjoyed today's presentation, my name is Nick. If you did not enjoy today's presentation, my name is Rodney. Thanks a lot, folks, and have a great afternoon.